Hey everyone, welcome back to the URI Technologies. This is a bot series on Microsoft 365 Agents SDK, and today we are going to build a weather forecast agent. It's a template which is provided by Microsoft under Microsoft 365 Agents, and we are going to explore that template and run it and see how is the response coming, and also see how we can improve it further, and also just look at the code structure. Okay, let's get started. I'm here in the Visual Studio under create a new project. If you have installed the templates for Microsoft 365 agents, you would see a new category coming in, Microsoft 365 agents. Okay, if you don't know where to get this, maybe I would recommend you go and watch our previous 3 videos and you will find it out. Okay, I'll choose this template. Go next. I'll name this as weather forecast agent bot. Okay, perfect. Choose a location, choose a solution name. I'll keep the same as the solution name. Oh yeah, if you want to keep both solutions and project in the same folder, you can check mark this. I usually don't check mark. I'll directly create it. Okay, here you have various templates available that are ready to get started with. I'm gonna start with weather agent, and here I'll be choosing the framework .NET 9. If you have .NET 8 installed, you can choose the .NET 8 as well. Click on next. It's okay if you want to configure the LLM after you create the project. That is also fine. I would be creating the connection before creating the project. The reason being, it will be easier for me to look out where exactly it is creating the connection, and that is all. So let's choose the option Azure OpenAI because we'll be mostly working with Azure OpenAI only. Now let's create some resources. I'll go to the Azure portal. Alright, so I'm here on the Azure portal. Let's start by creating a new resource group. I'll name this as and let's keep the resource group location as East US2. Review and create. Let's go to the resource group and quickly create an Azure OpenAI resource. I will be going to choose East US2. The main reason behind that is, if at all any latest models are released, it will be mostly be available under East US2. So East US support almost all the models which are there under Azure AI Foundry. I'll just give the resource name, choose the pricing tier. Please note, there is no credits on the Azure OpenAI. It's purely pay as you go. Of course, you can utilize the credits from your account to compensate uh, the resource usage, but there is no free tier under it. Okay, it's just how much tokens you consume, that much bill you will get, and it will be reduced from your account credits, if any. So let's say if you are a student or if you're just getting started with a free Azure plan with a $200 credit, you can still create a resource and utilize those. Okay. But after it consumes a credit, there is no free tier here. Usually now the models are quite cheaper with the release of GPT-5 and 4.1. It's cheaper compared to the 4.0 or yeah, the late previous versions of that GPT-4. Okay. Now since we have created the Azure OpenAI resource, I'll go to the Azure AI Foundry. Now they have replaced the link here. Previously, it would have gone to oai.azure.com, but now ai.azure.com have everything under its bucket. Everything. Even in the documentation also, there is no separate Azure OpenAI documentation. They have merged the documentation under Azure AI Foundry. And this portal contains the documentation as well. If you just click on this docs, right? So it contains the whole documentation as well. So it has certain things, AI services, agent services, and under AI services, it has, under models, it has Azure OpenAI models. Yeah. This is the one that you're looking for if you're targeting Azure OpenAI specifically. If you want to try open source model, of course, you can always go through and deploy it. Okay. And yeah, they have merged the documentation. It will be slightly difficult to go through it, but if you have a look, you'll just find it everything systematic here. All right, so here we are. Let's deploy some models. Let's get started with the GPT-5 chat model. Okay, confirm. Here, it has a huge context limit, so that's an advantage for you. The problem now I have, because I have already utilized it under East US2, so it's asking me to create a Sweden Central new resource under Sweden Central. So I have already utilized that. Let me see. GPT-5 mini. Yeah, I think we can use this one. Okay. So yeah. So the thing is, it has two deployment types: global standard, data zone standard. If you go with global standard, that means globally it's a shared resource. So if you are using, I am using, it's a shared quota, or you can say shared computing power given to all of us when we get the response back. So it's slower. Okay, it's globally single resource, you can say. Well, it's deployed at multiple locations, of course, but yeah, the computing power given to all of us is same. Okay, if you go to data zone standard, you'll have a better speed in getting back the response, because your data is only processed into the region where your resource is deployed in. So that's an advantage. So I'll go with data zone standard for now, and tokens per rate limit, I'm gonna pick up 100K and deploy. Please note the tokens per minute rate limit, it's shared across your account. Let's say for data zone standard, I have a total limit of 300K. If I create one resource under one region at 300K, then it's consumed. You cannot have the same deployment in the same resource, and you will not have enough quota for the new deployment. So please note it's shared across your account. Oh, yeah. So let's start with 100K. Maybe in future, if I want to create two more deployments in another resource in the same region, then at least I have 200K left. I'll deploy this one. Okay, the problem is it says that it's a chat model, but it's not a chat model. I'll need to get a chat model. But I don't have enough quota here. That's another problem. Okay, let's create a new resource. Okay, let's do this. I'll create the GPT-5 chat. This is chat completion model. Well, even Mini says it's a chat completion model, but it's not. It's not, you cannot call it like usually how you call a chat model. And okay, it only supports global standard. That's fine. And here it's asking me to choose Sweden Central because if I just see the resource location right here, you can see no quota because I have already utilized East US2 once. And I think there are some limitations on deploying GPT-5 chat. So let's create a resource and then deploy it. But few things to consider. If you create a resource from here, you will be provided with multiple endpoint URLs, which will get confusing because Microsoft has now uh, changed the Azure OpenAI endpoint URL. Not completely, but maybe it's about to change slowly. So in the endpoint URL, usually previously you would have openai.azure.com, but now they will have cognitiveservices.azure.com in the endpoint URL. Well, it would create multiple endpoints as well, but by default, it's going to be cognitive services, which does not support with Azure AI search as of now. Make sure if you're connecting with Azure AI search using a RAG model, then I would recommend you to use openai.azure.com endpoint only. This cognitive services as of now doesn't support. Maybe in future, of course, it will support. Okay, I'll show you that in a bit. Here you can see by default, it has this particular cognitive services.azure.com as a model endpoint. Okay, if you go to the overview page, right, it has multiple endpoints. One is for the inferencing, it's the ai.azure.com. One is Azure OpenAI. This is what is supported by Azure AI search as of now. Okay, make sure you utilize this particular endpoint. But by default, it uses this one, cognitiveservices.azure.com. Okay, so I'm gonna utilize this one, openai.azure.com. Oh, before that, it's asking me the key. I'll be copying the key, pasting it here. Next is endpoint. Next is the model name GPT-5 chat and create. Perfect. So by looking at the project structure, it creates two projects. One is the weather forecast agent bot, which is typically our bot framework SDK syntax or structure, but with the new libraries. If you're familiar with bot framework SDK, you will be getting familiarized easily with the Agents SDK. It uses exactly same structure but with the different libraries. Next, it also creates this Microsoft 365 agent. If you're planning to deploy this chatbot and connect to Microsoft 365 or to Microsoft Teams, then this project will be helpful for you. Okay, it has the infra basically scripts which deploys your bot registration. It has a bicep file. Okay, basically it creates a Azure bot resource and registers it, and it has a environment specific variables. It has an environment specific app package where it's just a template here, but if you have multiple environments, then your app package will be created with respect to the environment. They have combined the Teams toolkit capabilities to this one, and they have renamed to Microsoft 365 Agent. This concept of environments and app package has come from Teams toolkit. You don't have to worry about that now, since this is a new stuff that we are learning. Okay, so if you're building this chatbot specifically for a website, then don't worry about this project at all. It's just an optional, and it just helps you keep things simple, but I don't find it simple. I prefer doing manually if I want to create a environment specific package. Okay, I never liked Teams toolkit. Even I don't like this M365 agent project for the environment specific. It unnecessary, if you give control to this guy, right, it will unnecessarily create resources and separate environments, and it would increase your cost. That's the only thing. Okay, so I don't prefer that yet, maybe in future. Okay, now coming back to the project, first you run it as is. I would highly recommend you update to the latest version of Visual Studio, because it would give you so many options up here. Currently, by default, Microsoft 365 Agents Playground is what it is selected for you when you run the application. You can also have the same behavior, like if you're building it for Microsoft Teams, choose this options. Well, it had some bugs previously when I ran last time. I'm not sure now. It was not working. Basically, it was not launching my app package in Microsoft Teams, and I had to do it manually. Okay. Next is Teams browser. Skip update app, and next is Copilot resource. Okay. So these are some of the various ways. Best and easy. It's by default 365 Agents Playground. Let's keep it all default and run the application. We'll come back to the project structure later. Okay, so the application is running on 5130. Well, our bot framework SDK used to run on 3178. Sorry, 3178, 3728. Even I forgot now. All right, so it's running, and it has also triggered the welcome message. This is the welcome message. Here you can see the log panel. This is really helpful if you're debugging it. This is a kind of a, what we can say, emulator web interface. Okay, you have the log panel, even an emulator also used to have. If you just click on the logs, right, so let's say I click on this one, you can also see the whole JSON that is being sent from your channel to your bot, and bot to your channel. Okay, this is a message activity, and here it would have gone the conversation update activity somewhere. Yes, here, conversation update activity. So what do you mean by conversation update activity? Whenever the parties join the conversation, in this scenario, there are two parties, bot and the user. User as in me, and bot, which is running on Visual Studio. So currently we have two parties joining the conversation. And if you reload the page, it would again trigger that conversation update activity with a new user ID. Okay. User ID, I think somewhere here it will be. Recipient is the bot, and from here. Currently AAD object ID, because we have not logged in. This is just a dummy playground. So it has a test AAD object ID 000 everything. Okay. All right. So this is, I think, activity ID, I believe. It's become long actually from the last time when I saw in bot framework SDK. Okay. So now coming back to the concept, conversation update activity is triggered only when the parties join the conversation. I'll show you the code in a bit, or let me show you directly now the code for specific conversation update activity. I'll just make this as 125%. So welcome message async. This is the method that will be run when you have conversation update activity triggered. This is exactly same as on members added in terms of bot framework SDK. If you don't know bot framework SDK, absolutely fine. But yeah, this is a concept. Here we have a for loop. It says that members added. In our scenario, two members are added, bot and the user. But we are only sending the welcome message when user is added. We will not be sending a welcome message when bot is added. If you just remove this if condition, right? Let's say I remove this if condition. In this, what will happen? It would send the same message twice for both the parties. Because in our case, we have two parties, one bot, one user. It is going to send both the messages. I'll show you now. I'll rerun the application. Here you can see two messages are triggered because we have removed that condition. Now, reverting back, what's the condition here? If member ID is not equals to the recipient ID. Recipient is the bot in this scenario because the request is coming from user to the bot here. Here you can see this is conversation update activity. Here you can see from. From is the user as in me and recipient here. Recipient is a bot. Bot name is a test bot. Okay. That's why the condition here if member.id is not equals to the recipient ID. So we are just ignoring the bot and we are only sending it to the user. This is clear. Now let's see from where this is being called. Here you can see on conversation update. This particular method will be called welcome message async. Okay, clear? Now let's rerun the application again. The worst part about Agents Playground is, right, every time you run the application, it's going to open a new browser. And if you close one, you close everything. Okay, so I'll just restart it again. Yeah. So first we'll go through the conversation quickly. I'll just say hi. Perfect. This is what we were expecting. The reason being because of the issue of the cognitiveservices.azure.com. Even though we provided the openai.com, but it's not fully supported. So yeah. Now I think it's a good time. Let's utilize the 4.1. We'll keep the mini aside. Well, it doesn't work. Let's use the 4.1. GPT 4.1. I'll go with data zone standard. 50K is the limit. So I think that's too less. Let's go with global standard. I'll make it around 500K. Okay. Deploy. Perfect. Copy the resource name. Now this is a good time actually. I show where exactly that configuration is there. If you see app settings.json, you have three different configuration. App settings, usually both production and local can be used with it. Next is development, specifically for your development environment. And next is playground. Currently, this is what we use. So I'll be updating it here. What I have copied, let me copy the API key. Let me copy the endpoint. And let me change the model name. We have at other places as well. Development, it's blank. App settings, it's blank because it's the environment is playground. If I just go here also we have something. env.dev. This is specifically for the packages. Here you can see it's been encoded. Okay. Hopefully, if I run the application, that might replace this stuff. This file includes that will not be committed by to you can set these variables in your CI/CD system for your project. Okay, that's why I don't like this stuff, environment specific. I only like this guy. Let's see what happens. Close it, rerun it. If it picks up my new model, let's see. I say hi. Perfect. It does pick that. Okay. Now, this is directly coming from Azure OpenAI. We'll see that basically it's coming from agent. Inside our Agents SDK, we connect to semantic kernel. It's a framework or library, set of libraries just like LangChain, but built by Microsoft for C# and Python. Or I'm not sure even JavaScript is supported, I'm not sure, but yeah. It's similar to LangChain. It connects to various AI models or services. Yeah. So this message is coming from Azure OpenAI, and this is coming from agent inside semantic kernel. Okay, this is completely natural form. It would ask you some set of questions and call some functions and create an output for you. In this specific use case, it's going to ask you location and what's the time that you need the weather forecast for. Let's say Jodhpur. Perfect. It did not ask me time. It already picked up the current date. It has the couple of tools or calling capabilities that gets the latest date and time, and also generates adaptive card. That's also a function calling. So it has couple of tools connected to this agent. So what is agent and what is tool? Agent is, you can think of a chatbot or bot doing some specific task or set of tasks in an organized manner or unorganized manner, doesn't matter. Okay. Tool are some of the code or functions which help agent perform those duties. For example, okay, agent is the completed dish and tool is the ingredients of those dish. Okay, this is how you can just think of it. Here we have couple of tools. One is getting the latest date time, that's one tool. Creating this adaptive card, that is another tool. Third tool, getting the latest forecast. Well, of course, this is a dummy data, it's not accurate enough. I'm not sure from where this is coming from. Maybe it's best time we will implement this right. I think it's not calling in real time, it's just showing us the dummy data because these APIs might be paid, the weather forecast APIs. That's why it's just giving some dummy value here. Okay. But yeah, location it gives correctly. Okay. So one of the capabilities it also has, like in the old school there were LUIS, right, language understanding capabilities, and intents and entities. Eh, they're all merged together in this era of large language models. Okay, previously what you used to have, if you were about to having the conversation, it would just how much details you as a user is providing to the bot, it would take it into entities. If some details are missing, you would ask the same question in a different manner. For example, here you have two variables that you need to fill it out. One is location and date and time. Okay. Here, if I just say hi again, hi, please tell me the city and date you are interested in today, no, yesterday. But it would still understand because it has the memory in place. It would give me, I guess, Jodhpur only, I guess. Okay, perfect. It's resetting the memory. That's good. Okay. So yesterday, so I have two things. I can provide all the details into one single response. I can go on provide multiple values in the subsequent responses. Okay. Let's say this time Mumbai. So it's filling out those variables in terms of Raza. You can say slot filling it is doing, or it is doing entity extraction. This is all in terms of natural language processing if you are from the old school. Okay. So the another part about is it can also give the whole week of forecast as well. If I just say give me for Delhi for last 1 week. Okay, doesn't give us. It's not good enough, but yeah, give for whole next week. Doesn't work. Well, I tried this once before. It was able to give us like it would give a long adaptive card it would create and just add those values like today's date, tomorrow's date, and the temperature. Anyway, but yeah, you know the concept. Well, in the market, there are many tools or agent builder services that has come into picture. Even from Microsoft, there are couple of them. For example, semantic kernel, competitor of you can say LangChain. Not that level, but still, it's coming up. I don't use LangChain now. The reason being, I mostly use Azure OpenAI resource, and its libraries are outdated in LangChain, so I don't prefer that now. So even semantic kernel, I don't prefer yet, but it's good. Okay, if you want to build small tools, it's good enough. But another tool has come into picture from Microsoft itself, Azure AI agents on the Azure AI Foundry portal. Okay, that is way more powerful. You can connect to documents, you can connect to various sources, you can do a lot more things. But the thing is, why this is being used here in this framework, because this semantic kernel is open source, and yeah, that's the reason. And semantic kernel can connect to multiple AI services, not only targeting Azure OpenAI, it can also connect to OpenAI as well. If you want to use any Hugging Face model, that also it has the capability. So it's not a service specific framework or library. It can connect to various things. Okay. um Now let's understand the code. First, let's understand the app settings.json. In the previous version of Bot Framework SDK, you only had four important configuration for a bot, like app type. It can be managed identity or single tenant or multi-tenant. For now, multi-tenant is deprecated. It's not being supported by Azure Bot Service. Okay. And second, after app type, it had the tenant ID, it had the app ID, it had the client secret, okay, or you can say app password. But now it has a lot more things as a default configuration. I'll just highlight the ones which are default configuration for every bot. This is just the login, that's fine. So these are the one that are fixed for every bot. Well, its values might change here if it is a user assigned managed identity bot or a single tenant bot. It depends. Okay. If it is a single tenant, then here there's one more property here, client secret. It's not shown here, but yeah, it will be added up here like this. Okay. So currently what it is doing, what is the use of all this new type of authentication? The good part is, even in the local development, you can configure the authentication. And currently it utilizes access token for interacting with the bot, right? Even previously it was doing that, but now it's more enhanced. Okay. And it has some this default configuration, start typing timer. Previously we used to do it under adapter with error handler as a typing indicator. Now it just has this small configuration, true and false. Remove recipient mention, I haven't tried that yet. Normalize mentions, I haven't tried that yet. I think that both works for the Microsoft Teams. Okay. Now this is clear, right? Yeah. Now coming back to the program.cs, the starting point of your bot. It creates a web builder. This is typical our .NET applications, adding the controllers, because again here also it has the one controller with the endpoint slash API slash messages. Here it is. And it is using minimal APIs syntax. It doesn't have a controllers folder. If we want, yes, we can add that. It's optional. Okay. Of course, it's doing the same thing. It's a post request slash API slash messages. Okay, it passes on the adapter. Even in previous versions, it had the adapter and it had the iBot, but this time here is the iAgent. Okay, and it processes it. Okay, it's a similar formatting. Next, initializes the HTTP client. This is, I think, mostly interacting with the playground over HTTP channel. Okay, context accessor console, that is fine. Add kernel, this is the one. It registers the semantic kernel. Okay. Next, it gets the config option. Basically, whatever you have in app settings.json, it's mapping those into a model class. Here, currently it's only mapping the custom configuration, which is Azure OpenAI, which is extra that has been added. It's mapping them. It's easier to extract it. Basically, it's easier to refer to the app setting.json instead of configuration builder.configuration. Usually what you do, right, like this builder.configuration, and you would enter the key name, that is, let's say, Azure OpenAI endpoint. Instead of this, we can just refer it by their property names. Okay, that is easier. Here it's authenticating with the Azure OpenAI. Okay, it's inbuilt part of the framework. That's good. Next, it registers the weather forecast agent. That's your starting point. No, not the starting point, basically. You can think this as your invocable thing, like from this is the where your main logic exists. Okay. This is regarding the authentication, and this is a similar to bot framework SDK. You have memory storage. Basically, this can be used for your bot state management, or in this scenario, agent state management, or storing transcript of the conversation. This can be used for. Next, add edge agent application config. It's the same thing, like, but it's internally handled. So let me show you. Whatever these are there, right? All of these are part of this one. Add agent application options. I think this is only the one. Agent application options. This is the one. Sorry. This is what is being added. Next, agent application option. Again, this is a model class that is being created. It's again part of the agent framework itself. Here you can see. Basically, it's everything, I guess. Start typing in timer, user authentication. Basically, it's a lot more things. It's mapping basically your app setting JSON with this model class. Okay. Next, this is your main bot that is being registered. You can also register multiple bots. In terms of a bot framework SDK, you can think of this as your how you had the bot folder. Inside bot folder, you had that class file, right? This is the one. For any new message coming in or for conversation update activities, this is your starting point. Okay, it builds all of the static files. Okay, authentication, authorization, these are all the middlewares. Now, since our current development environment is the playground, that's why it's interacting with a bot using anonymously. If you remove this, you would require a proper authentication to interact with the bot. And it's mapping the controllers because we have only one controller with a one endpoint, and it just runs the application. This is your starting point. Okay. Okay, now let's move on to the starting point of your bot logic. This is under bots folder and whether agent bot. Okay, this extends the agent application. So previously we used to override the methods for each of the activities that is coming in. For example, in bot framework SDK, you used to have on turn async, that is here on activity, because on turn async was able to uh, trigger any activities that is coming from the channel. Here also it has the on activity. Here we have on conversation update. Okay, on activity, and here's the message type. Basically, message activity type is a message. Okay. Now, if you want to target different, right? For example, on activity. So I'll just say activity types dot event is there, command is there. These are all the activity types. Delete user data, end of conversation, handoff. This is specifically for if you're handoffing to an agent. Installation update. This is really helpful for your Microsoft Teams bot application. Let's suppose user is installing your Microsoft Teams bot, right? So you need to perform some sort of actions when that bot is installed. So we have invoke, message, delete, reaction, message. Well, they have so many of them. Okay. Here, basically, you initialize them here in the constructor and then trigger the specific method in order to satisfy that activity logic. Okay. On conversation update, we have seen it here. Perfect, no doubt. Next, on message, this particular method will be run, set up local service connection. Basically, all this is the same implementation for the semantic kernel initialization. Okay. It also creates a chat history. It's an in-memory chat history that it maintains. I would recommend to use maybe a persistent storage for this purpose, because if your conversation is long enough and if multiple users are chatting at the same time, then it would slow down your application, because this is all in memory which is stored. Or I can say turn state. In the turn state, it is getting stored. I think if you configure this one, and connect it to a blob storage, then this chat history will be stored over there, because it's storing under turn state. Okay. Currently, it is in memory storage. It's not recommended for the production. Please note, always go with the persistent storage like blob storage or even Cosmos DB you can use. Next, it's creating a new agent, that is weather agent, weather forecast agent. All the agents are here. Currently, it has one agent only, weather forecast agent. So it's creating it here. Let's see the agent. Okay. This is where you give the instructions to the agent. This is the old school of function calling capabilities. If you have heard the news as of today or tomorrow or in the last week, basically today is 23rd August, GPT-5 has now free form of function calling capabilities. It can run the code directly. It can run the SQL queries directly without worrying about the model structure or JSON structure or JSON schema. In the old school function calling, we would be asking the agent to give the response in a specific JSON. Then you would parse that JSON, extract those values, put it into your function, run them, get back the response back to the agent. So that was old school, but now they have improved really well. Okay. So it's creating the agent. This is the agent instructions. And here this is the constructor. It adds the agent, define the agent, and what tools it needs to connect to. Here it is. Let's suppose in future you have multiple agents. Just add them here. You create a new class file for that. You create a new agent. Let's say, I would say weather agent, right? So what's a similar agent I can create? Map agent. Let's say getting a, what we say, latitude and longitude details. Just an example I'm giving. So here you would define a new agent like this. Since we don't have any map agent class as of now, so that's why it's giving an error. But yeah, this is the place where you add more agents. All right. And inside each agent, you connect to separate certain tools. This is a definition of that agent. You give the instruction, you give the name of the agent, what's the kernel being used. Here kernel is semantic kernel. And what are the arguments? Basically, if you want the function calling capabilities, you pass on here. Function choice behavior auto and response format is JSON object. Okay. In the latest version of Azure AI agents, this is exactly similar, but it has much more tool capabilities. Okay. Here, in agents, we call them tool, but here in terms of semantic kernel, we call them plugins. Plugins are nothing but functions that will be executed uh, when triggered by your agent. Here it has three plugins or function. One is date time, it gets the latest date or time. One is weather forecast plugin. Basically, it might call your API to get the latest weather forecast. Third is adaptive card. This will help create an adaptive card in real time with any formatting. Well, formatting can be defined, but it has that capabilities. Okay. In the latest Azure AI agents, away from semantic kernel, you can also pass on the code, uh, basically code execution capabilities, or you can also connect to your documents like in the index, or maybe you can connect to a vector store. It's all possible now. Maybe in future in this series, instead of semantic kernel, we can use Azure AI agents as well for better capabilities. But if you prefer semantic kernel, and if you are a .NET guy and you want to connect to different services other than Azure OpenAI, then you go with kernel. Okay, this is a place you define all the plugins. Now going back to the plugins, right? Let's see what are things are there in plugins. Each plugin has a set of instructions. It's kind of a because instructions will be used by the agent to create something. For example, here adaptive card, it is going to create adaptive card. When given date time weather forecast for a given date time, please generate adaptive card that displays the information in a visually appealing manner. Make sure to only return the valid adaptive cards JSON string in the response. Okay, this is what it is doing. And if you in semantic kernel, this is how you define your plugins. That is kernel function. If you put it on the top, this will be the one which will get executed by your agent. Okay. All right. So next is date time. It has a very simple instruction: get the current date. It also have multiple functions: get the current date and get the current date and time. Okay. Why we have two of them? Let's see what's the difference. Oh, okay, okay. It's just a property. It just gets the data. This is the main thing, main function. Okay. And weather forecast, this is just a model class for your weather forecast plugin. Here, get the weather forecast data. Currently, I believe it might be having some dummy one, right? Somewhere. Yeah, see here, it's a random shared next minus 2255. It doesn't call the weather forecast API to get the real-time data, but of course, this is a place where you do that because you have two details, date and location. You can call any API to retrieve the data and pass on back to the agent for creating adaptive cards. Okay, coming back here, it has these three tools or plugins. Okay, this is a definition, all done. Now, once we have agent created, it's time to invoke it. Okay, every time you're coming in here, you're creating a new agent. I'm not sure is it really creating a new agent, or um, because I think it is creating a new agent. It's the only thing that is changing is the chat history. You're passing the same chat history, so it can just remember the context. So it doesn't matter here whether there is no concept of threads here. Okay, In Azure AI agents or assistants API, there is a concept of threads. You can pass on the message to a single threads, and you have to maintain the threads. Okay, you have to maintain the agents if required. You have to maintain the threads, and you, if you're connecting to a data source like vector store, you have to maintain a vector store. I'm talking about Azure AI agent. Okay, but here you create a new agent. You just invoke that agent with the latest chat history and the message, latest message. Okay, I'll just go to the invoke method. Okay, so here chat message context, basically just add the latest user input to an existing chat history. Okay, and here it's invoking that. Here it's getting back the results, and based on the result, either it can just let me see the here. So it would get the result in this particular what we say JSON schema or model class. The content of the response may be plain text or JSON based adaptive card, but must be a string. Okay, this is a two format currently we support. Currently this agent supports. Either it can be text format, if you see here, right? These are the text responses. Either it can be a text response or it can be adaptive card. There is no other formatting. All right, it just return back the result. Where is that? Okay, so depending on the text format or content type, if it is a text, it just sends a text chunk of text. Remember, Agents SDK has now capability of streaming data or sending chunk of data to the channel. It has that capability now. Previously, it only had it in Microsoft Teams, where we had to do workaround of sending the streaming data, like message update. But now it has that inbuilt now. Okay, it sends a chunk of data, and it can send also adaptive card, and at the end of the sending, like, it just ends the stream. Okay, so this is a very simple agent that we have, and of course we'll utilize this template to build something on top of that. In our next video will be maybe let's say, yeah, I'll find it out a use case in the next video. Okay, let's see you then. Thanks everyone.